big cat never imagined that one day, it would become a kitten's toy. Not long ago, Jack was hanging blankets on the balcony as usual, but when he turned around, he accidentally stepped on the kitten's tail. Surprised, Jack wondered, where did this kitten come from? Just then, the old lady from next door called out, asking if he had seen her cat, Mike. When she saw Mike in Jack's arms, she asked him to help take Mike over to her house. The old lady thought Mike had missed her, but Jack didn't recognize him at all. It turned out that Mike was the stray cat Annie had found earlier. Since Mike's owners were away on vacation, he was temporarily staying with the old lady. But Mike still remembered Jack, which was why he had broken the screen window to get to Jack's balcony. At that moment, the old lady had to leave, so she asked Jack to help put Mike back in his cage. However, Mike refused to let go of Jack's apron, so Jack gave up. He sat on the floor, deciding to stay with Mike until the old lady returned. Jack, however, was a cat who couldn't sit still when there was nothing to do, while Mike kept rubbing against him. Then, Jack noticed a bag of cat toys nearby and tried to reach for it, but, as he swished his tail, it ended up looking like a cat teaser. In the blink of an eye, Mike pounced on Jack's tail. Jack was stunned. He began wildly swinging his tail, flinging Mike across the room. Seeing this, Jack feared Mike might get hurt, but luckily, Mike landed safely. However, in the next second, Mike pounced again. Jack finally realized how exhausting it was to look after a child. Soon enough, he was panting heavily, and whenever Jack wasn't paying attention, Mike would disappear. He didn't know when, but Mike had sneaked behind him. When the old lady returned, she found Jack lying on the ground, resting. Upon closer inspection, it was a harmonious scene. Two cats snuggled up, peacefully sleeping. That evening, when Jenny came home, she hugged Jack from behind. Thinking she would be rejected again, she was surprised when Jack looked at her with a loving expression and patted her head as if she were Mike. Then, Jenny tried to play with Jack using a cat teaser, but the next moment, Jack grabbed the teaser and started playing with her instead. Mike, influenced by Jack, also began trying to walk on two legs. Later that afternoon, during lunch, Luna noticed Ellie eating lunch quite late and offered to accompany her. Ellie, without hesitation, agreed. She had originally planned to wait for Jenny, but Jenny's meeting hadn't ended yet. At that moment, Luna happened to mention Jenny. It turned out that one of Luna's colleagues had asked if Jenny was still single and even wanted to invite her to a mixer. Ellie quickly said, if there's a mixer, make sure to bring Jenny. Luna responded, saying Jenny was very popular at the company. Not only was she beautiful and had a great personality, but she was also highly competent at her job and could cook. Among the single employees, Jenny was the most sought-after partner. However, Luna had heard that when Jenny first joined the company, she was like a completely different person. Ellie's interest peaked, and she immediately asked Luna to elaborate. Luna explained that back then, Jenny not only looked unwell but was also very timid. Luna, worried about her, often observed Jenny. Then one day, Jenny brought homemade rice balls for lunch. Although they looked awful, Jenny seemed to enjoy them so much. From that day on, Jenny changed into a completely different person. Her work abilities skyrocketed, and she became much more confident. Luna even wondered if there was magic in those rice balls. Ellie then shared that she had known Jenny even before joining the company. She often saw Jenny on the subway. Jenny always stood gracefully, which made Ellie long to be like her. But to her surprise, Jenny was actually asleep and didn't even need to hold onto the straps, yet she stayed perfectly steady. It wasn't until one day when Ellie encountered a pervert on the subway that Jenny stepped in to help. She effortlessly subdued the pervert. It was during that incident that Ellie learned where Jenny worked, and that's how she ended up following her to the company. Luna, now understanding why they were so close, smiled and said, after today, Jenny has one more impressive quality, a martial arts expert. Luna was excited to see what kind of surprises Jenny would bring them in the future.